bleeds, we can kill it.
The 80s produced several of the best action movies of all time. Die Hard is Hollywood's best fish-out-of-water action film. Lethal Weapon is our best buddy cop action film. Aliens is our best sci-fi action film. And Predator is the best horror war movie action film. Let me just say at the outset that this is more of an appreciation than a review. I have only a couple of minor quibbles with this film, and this is going to be full of spoilers for a movie that's now 40 years old, so if you don't want to know who Rosebud was, turn away now and go watch this masterful ass-kicking movie. This little video is not a making of. It might be amusing to think of the diminutive Jean-Claude Van Damme covered in latex and stilts facing off against Schwarzenegger, but that's not where I want to go. It should be noted that John McTiernan directed not just this film, but also Die Hard, and the best spoof of 80s action movies ever, The Last Action Hero.
I got the California Ranger cousin doing all me a virgin, and the Derry and Frank doing all me a virgin, so what? You bald peen jackametas, I'll slip them out all the cuck-singing
which climaxes with Schwarzenegger facing off with not just the guy who killed Mozart, but also Ian McKellen as Death from The Seventh Seal, and that Shane Black, who goofs it up as one of the best mercenaries here, who's penned some of the greatest Christmas movies of all time, and the most underrated one too, wrote Lethal Weapon and one of the Predator sequels. Predator covers the bases of all of the best 80s action movies.
There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man.
Predator is thoroughly satisfying, but it's a bit of an odd duck. It starts like a Rambo-esque post-Vietnam rescue film with a team of mercenaries sent into a Central American war zone, saddled with a shady CIA operative. So yeah, the same setup as Alien and Aliens, but without all those aliens. I suppose the setup is really closer to the first Alien, with characters getting picked off one by one, and the government operative, in that case, the android Ian Holm, in this case Carl Weathers, pushing to complete a mission which is actually about espionage and not rescue. I mentioned before that I have a couple small complaints about this otherwise great film. The first is the opening minute of the movie, which introduces the sci-fi aspect immediately. If I were to show this to somebody for the first time, I'd probably start with the very Apocalypse Now choppers, presenting it as a post-Vietnam movie about mercenaries. Then the slow reveal of the Predator could be taken more mysteriously, if obvious to any moviegoer with a little imagination.
I'll bleed you, real quiet, leave you here. Got that?
A lot of what makes this movie work is the cast, the six-man team, plus their CIA minder, and a random enemy fighter who survives the group's assault on her camp. Probably the tragicomedy camp destruction in The Suicide Squad was paying homage to that scene. Schwarzenegger is at his peak here. I will never say no to a Carl Weathers performance, be it this, Rocky, Action Jackson, Force 10 from Navarone. Screenwriter Shane Black gets off much too early for my taste. I would go for another 20 minutes of him and his nerdy humor. Take Guy Who Speaks Spanish off before him, which would force the captured guerrilla fighter's reveal as a fluent English speaker much more naturally.
I don't know what it was.
The movie certainly is not afraid to kill off great performers. Jesse Ventura, legendary wrestler and future governor of Minnesota, chews scenery like he's not eaten in weeks.
You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed.
And he's one of the first ones to go.
They took the 2 men from the helicopter. 6 men wearing U.S.-issued Army boots.
Billy, the somewhat stereotypical Native American tracker.
It's our friend Indian companion.
Someone coming.
Gets a lot of build-up to his mano-a-mano showdown with the alien, but then we never really get to see what happens. That's my other beef with this film, Billy's off-screen death. This actually has an interesting genesis, as Billy was originally meant to be the lead before Schwarzenegger was attached to the film. Both men buckle down for a one-on-one conflict with a hunter, which makes far more sense if Billy's tree bridge standoff had been the intro to the climactic battle. But it's the 80s, and you've hired Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the rest is going to write itself. Where the involvement of Schwarzenegger, Paul Verhoeven, and Dan O'Bannon turn a modest Philip K. Dick novel about implanted memories into a sprawling, big-budget action thriller. And the opposite happened with the Stephen King Running Man, which was a sprawling East Coast journey that lasted months, turned into a compact Los Angeles brawl that only lasts days, and was far more violent, also tailored to Schwarzenegger's persona.
Well, that hit the spot.
Casting Schwarzenegger shifted the project enormously, but hey, so did casting the singing comedian Bruce Willis in place of the aging megastar Frank Sinatra in Die Hard. What we got in each case was superior to the original idea, except for poor Billy, who dies off screen.
The CIA got you pushing too many pencils?
One remarkable thing about this manly man action film is how wounded and frightened Bill Duke and Sunny Landham's characters seem throughout. In the end, Schwarzenegger's Dutch doesn't seem to be fighting for survival so much as getting revenge for his best friend's murders.
Come on, come on.
Kill me, I'm here! Kill me!
A sentiment echoed by antagonists Bill Duke and Carl Weathers in their final scene together.
I got a score to settle.
We both got scores to settle.
But the 80s action movie mold is what really commands our attention with Predator. The sheer manliness of the film is off the charts. That flexing handshake, the tobacco chewing, the lengthy scene of guys unloading ammunition fruitlessly for a full minute and a half, committing armed herbicide, a Second Amendment fan's fever dream. It's so intense it becomes downright funny, despite a beloved character having just been killed. Billy's decision to take on the alien one-on-one, and then Dutch's lengthy battle. They're all manly bravado scenes taken to the extreme. And above all, the Predator deciding to unmask
You're one ugly motherfucker.
and go toe-to-toe with Dutch in jungle fisticuffs is legendary. The 80s were a great time for machismo, and this movie does it better than anything else, except for maybe Rocky. This is not a slasher, though there is some gore and it has that same "and then there were none" progression to it. It's a horror film in that the characters are picked off mercilessly by a faceless killer, and the final girl, in this case Arnold Schwarzenegger, finds a way to confront the killer in a way not far off from Nancy in A Nightmare on Elm Street or Kevin in Home Alone. Remarkably, little of the film takes place at night. What other films fit that daytime horror mold? Well, not a lot. Jaws, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hills Have Eyes, Wicker Man, The Birds, Midsommar. It's a pretty short list. Subsequent Predator films all resorted to nighttime horror, probably for more convenient FX reasons, and also for atmosphere. A shout-out should be given to Alan Silvestri, a prolific composer who, in my opinion, goes under most other moviegoers' radars. The guy did the Back to the Future trilogy, Roger Rabbit, several Marvel films, Disney films, Forrest Gump, James Cameron's The Abyss, and yet somehow he's not quite a household name like John Williams, Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer, Mancini, Morricone, or others. The epic tension in Predator's score is a world away from the celebratory fanfare of Back to the Future, or the sweeping emotion of Forrest Gump. Silvestri is the real deal.
Do it! Do it!
This movie is close to perfect, and it's certainly the 80s action film that I watch more than any other, even more than Die Hard or Lethal Weapon, which are arguably better films. But Predator has so much heart. Okay, those movies also have heart too, and such a ruthlessly disciplined structure. Okay, those movies also have that. Maybe the thing that puts me over the top here is that moment where the Predator decides that after running these guys ragged and killing all of Dutch's friends for sport, and Dutch has broken the Predator's tech to the point where a bow and arrow made of local flora are a match for his interstellar armor, the Predator decides that he needs to take a step down and just punch it out with his pesky human. And Dutch wins, not by being stronger, which he obviously isn't, but by outsmarting him, if only by a whisker. Okay, one thing I would change in this, although it would undercut all the drama of the final half of the film. When they picked Dutch up in the chopper, it would have been cool if he was smoking a cigar. That's why they paid John McTiernan the big bucks and not me.